Sheesh. Listen. You know what we're doing here. Why are you looking at me like that? You know what we're doing here. We're reading the Enchiridion by Epictetus. Passage number 9, because remember, we skipped 7. But I'm going to stop talking about that in the next video. Because by this point, you should already know. Now, you know, how you guys doing? I hope you're taking care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're a human being. I have love for you. Let that be known. Now, passage number 9. The Enchiridion by Epictetus. Sickness is an impediment to the body, but not to the will unless itself pleases. Lameness is an impediment to the leg, but not to the will. And say this to yourself, with regard to everything that happens. For you will find it to be an impediment to something else, but not truly to yourself. Dang, I tried to get like, you know sometimes when you're closing a book and it makes that nice little, let me do it for you guys, makes that nice little snap. I tried to do that, not enough power yet in these two. We're gonna get it up there though. But anyways, you already know what this is. It's my takeaway book, man. The takeaways. 3 things that stuck out to me that I would like to share with you in hopes of exchanging some sort of information, some sort of knowledge that might be able to help you on your journey in this lifetime. Takeaway number 1. Disease, ailments, loss, suffering, and many more negative experiences have been a part of the human experience since the inception of our species. Meaning, since the beginning of humanity, since the beginning of Homo sapiens, right? We have experienced these things such as suffering, death, hunger, all these things that we have a negative connotation towards, right? But the point is, and we'll get into that soon, you'll see, is that even despite this, we have still come to the point that we are today. We have still striven for the excellence somewhat, because we did some pretty messed up stuff. But for the most part, the world is much, much better now than it was before, because we continue to strive for excellence despite the horrendous climate, nature, and existence that we have been born into. Horrendous meaning just, it's quite hard. Let's be honest. The first humans didn't really have a fun time in this reality. Let's keep it real, all right? Carrying on. Despite the unfavorable conditions humans have, even up to the present day, we have continued to strive and accomplish our ambitions and desires. So as I was just saying before, thousands, millions of years, we have dealt with these conditions, suffering, pain, loss, right? But still, we have made it to the place that we are today, where we are the rulers of this world. We basically define what happens in this world. Even though we are somewhat split up into our little tribes and nations and things of that nature, we control this planet, despite the state of chaos that we were placed into, right? It is in this chaos that we have been placed into that we have been able to order it, right? We have set out to order the chaos that is life, and we have what we have today, which is far better than what we had in the inception of humanity, despite all of the, as I said before, bad things that we've done. Takeaway number 2. Many people have been born with disabilities. Others are subject to traumatic injuries. However, what Epictetus is trying to teach us and get across to us is that despite these disabilities, despite these injuries, despite these ailments, the human willpower can and has resisted crumbling. In other words, Epictetus acknowledges there's this trend going on like TikTok, Instagram, basically all the big social medias, right? About the indomitable human spirit, the indomitable human willpower. And Epictetus, as a Stoic, he understood that it is this willpower that is innate within humans that pushes us towards our ambitions despite the horrors that we may face whilst attaining those ambitions or whilst just living life. Here comes my cat. He's about to try and mess with me as I'm doing this video. Maybe he won't. Maybe it's just the ego talking. Carrying on. Epictetus, having been a slave and having had one of his legs purposely broken, is a great testament to this. Despite his suffering and the situation that he was born into, his will remained unbroken, and he became a powerful man in terms of not only was his will unbroken, but he made his mind into that of a philosopher, into that of a sage, into that of something which the creations that were born from it have made it onto pages thousands of years later. And Epictetus is a great example of the indomitable human spirit, because despite him being born a slave, despite him having his slave master being horrendous and breaking his leg purposefully in front of him, despite all of these different sources of adversity that he had to face, Epictetus still desired freedom and to improve. These two things that he desired to do, he would do them until the day he died. And look at what he has become now. A paragon of virtue within the Stoic philosophy, a teacher to many, many millions even after his death. This is what happens when you take that innate and that inborn ability to suffer, yet still improve, and you continue to do so despite whatever comes your way. Epictetus wants you to understand this. He wants you to grasp this. He wants you to know it intrinsically, that you are meant not just to suffer, but also to overcome. Right? Let's get into our last takeaway. Can I show my love for you? My fault. Let me let her do that singing. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit is beautiful. I'm gonna bleep out that curse, because who knows? Maybe one day I'll get monetized. Psych! Probably won't happen. Epictetus desires for us to understand the great capacity for tenacity within us all. Tenacity being basically being able to shrug things off. You get hit, you stand back up. That's tenacity. And Epictetus isn't asking us to forget or ignore our suffering and or the ailments that we may be faced with, but to accept them instead. And in our acceptance, realize that it is still within one's power to achieve and overcome if he wills it to be so. Now, while there are exceptions, people die on the path, people stray away from the path, you may lose faith in yourself, things of this nature. But what me and Epictetus want you to understand is that your suffering is not just the end goal. It is the overcoming of your suffering that will make you a better person, a better man, a better wife, a better husband, a better anything. It is through your suffering that you will become the greatest being that you can be. My fault. It's tearing me up a little bit because I'm thinking of my own suffering, which is not helping either, But, man, that's a very beautiful message. It's a very beautiful message that Epictetus tries to share with us, And I even wrote down this quote. A broken leg means nothing to an indomitable will. However, a broken will almost always results in the achievement of nothing. I'll leave you guys with that. Take care of yourself. Embrace your suffering and overcome it. It is in our nature. Sayonara.